Hello friends, I am Alexander Musienko and you are on my channel. The publication Zvezda, a Russian outlet close to the Russian Ministry of Defense, is essentially what is called a mouthpiece of this ministry, of aggression as we call it. So Zvezda writes that supposedly a high-ranking representative of the United States administration is supposed to attend the victory celebration organized by Putin on May 9th. Well, that's interesting. Actually, Zvezda writes about this, and now I'll tell you why. Because they say that this high-ranking American representative could be Marco Rubio, the head of the State Department, the Secretary of State of the United States, a top diplomat, and he might be the one to attend the parade. Well, it's an interesting version, actually, if you look at it this way. Now, I'll tell you why the Kremlin is talking about this. But first, I'll say that I actually think Xi Jinping might come, the Chinese leader. Narendra Modi has already declined. The Prime Minister of India will not come. Well, the official reason is the escalation of the situation with Pakistan, which this situation risks turning into a major war. But here, the question is about what Zvezda is writing. So why is Zvezda writing and hinting that Marco Rubio will supposedly come? First, there are reasons for this. First, Putin's panic attack. Putin is very afraid that Ukraine will indeed strike Red Square on May 9th. Everything is happening around this right now. Around this are all these dances with initiatives for a 3-day truce. All these initiatives and so on. So that Ukraine, God forbid, does not strike. I congratulate all of us, the entire Ukrainian people, on this, because it is a recognition of our power, capabilities, and capacities. And it turns out that you could say that in this way, they are indeed cautious and afraid. Because, well, really, Putin is seriously afraid. Imagine how much he is willing to do just to protect himself, just to ensure that Ukraine does not strike with drones. Well, that is, he's ready to declare a ceasefire. He's ready to talk and spread fake news in the publication Zvezda about Rubio coming. The question is not even about him wanting to demonstrate that the United States of America is interested in dialogue with Russia on a strategic level and scale. That too, of course. There is a purpose in this, but what is the main goal? Why does the Russian dictator want to do this? It lies in the fact that he thinks this way he can protect May 9th, May 8th. Well, if the Americans are there, Ukraine won't launch any strikes. Well, these are roughly the calculations that Putin has today. And the next goal, of course, is to demonstrate his own significance. And ultimately, they need to justify the money earned by those Kremlin analysts and intelligence representatives who talked about the need to fight so-called Eurofascism. Well, you remember I talked about the article that was published on the official website of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia, which stated that the world is now threatened by Eurofascism. These Eurofascists are supposedly Europeans who, under the leadership of Britain, London, threaten the planet, and they must be fought against just like 80 years ago. Therefore, the United States and Russia must stand shoulder to shoulder to counteract this, prevent it, and not let it happen. And of course, obviously, so much has been written, so much as it's called paper scribbling and so on. Undoubtedly, this needs to be worked on. And of course, the escalation of the situation about how supposedly the United States, or rather Russia and the United States, are supposedly all good. They are ready for interaction, for dialogue at the highest level on many issues. And in fact, to demonstrate this unity around the fight against today's fascism. That's what these narratives are for. And obviously, and I think with a high degree of probability, of course, Rubio will not go to any parade. And soon this information will be officially refuted by the United States Department of State in the media and other official resources. Because it's really hard to believe such nonsense, and it's unclear what Rubio would gain from this day, to be honest, he definitely doesn't need it. Meanwhile, events are unfolding. Meanwhile, there is a discussion going on about the agreement signed between Ukraine and the United States regarding access to rare earth metals and minerals. And it's quite active. Trump, the president of the USA, said there won't be any bad guys if there are American investments and interests here. And he called the very fact of this agreement and the document itself as security guarantees. That's how he expressed himself on this matter. Overall, Trump said that in his first 100 days of presidency, he did not make a single mistake at all, meaning not a single no mistake in his actions, actually. Meanwhile, the Times of London reported that the United States will not abandon Ukraine, that aid will continue to flow, and the future will still be connected because no matter what, Trump does not want to be held responsible like Biden was for Afghanistan. Of course, I don't like the example and comparison the authors of the publication provided. I believe such comparisons are inappropriate when we talk about Ukraine and Afghanistan, but they are being made. But the essence of this issue for us is most important in that Trump will not stop aid to Ukraine. And that in fact is very important to understand. This is precisely what interests us greatly. Well, and the Wall Street Journal also comes out with a publication stating that America and the United States plan to use more drones at the tactical level, operational tactical, especially drones that are needed on the battlefield, both reconnaissance and strike, or those that can perform a combined role. This was analyzed as a result of studying the activities and the work of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, our units on the battlefield, how effectively drones directly change the battlefield, how effective and necessary they are. And the United States of America will now be adopting this experience. This, by the way, is evidence of why Ukraine is needed by the world, the contribution it makes to global security now, why Ukraine is needed by NATO, and why our future is shared with the West. Our experience will undoubtedly be studied because it is in demand. And while I am recording this video, there has been a reaction from Russia regarding the agreement on access to mineral resources. It was voiced by the Deputy Secretary of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev. He said that the signing of the agreement between Ukraine and the United States means that Trump will supply weapons to Ukraine. Medvedev states in such a way that the signing of this agreement means that Kiev has already paid Trump for the future supply of weapons that will be delivered to Ukraine. The agreement signed in Washington on Wednesday will grant the United States Britain of America preferential status. And in fact, we will be receiving weapons. As Medvedev says, he claims that Trump has broken the Kiev regime, that they have to pay the Americans. All Ukrainians will pay for the supply of weapons with their national wealth and so on. This concerns him because it coincided in time that Trump immediately signed the first authorization for the supply of weapons to Ukraine worth $50 million. The amounts are not yet very large if you look at the total sum by value. But it must be understood that this is a precedent, this is a very good example for the future, and this is indeed the first case where the administration of Donald Trump, the President of the United States, since taking office, signs and grants such a right. This is very important, and of course it instills certain hopes and optimism for the future. Friends, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave your impressions and comments about what you've heard. Take care of yourselves, and glory to Ukraine.